Okay, for example 7, they're asking us to factor each of these expressions. Well, remember the directions factor, we have to know what does a factor, or what is a factor, what does that mean? So remember, factors are things that you multiply together to get a product. So what you're figuring out here is basically, what are you multiplying together to get this product? We always look for what they have in common. And this first one I especially wanted to do because you could look at it a couple of different ways. If you go by the directions and you factor it, then these have a common factor of x. So we could pull that x out and we would be left with, if we got rid of the x from this first term, we'd be left with 3. And if we got rid of the x from the second term, we'd be left with plus 5. So that is factoring it. The problem is that now you can actually do 3 plus 5, which would be 8. And now we never write the variable and then the number. We always write the number and then the variable. So this would be the same thing as saying 8x. So that would be in its most simple form. Now, there's really no reason to factor this problem. We could just combine like terms. So instead of doing that, we could just say 3x's plus 5x's is 8x's. There really was no need to factor that one. So I wanted to make sure that you knew that they kind of gave you that crazy problem. In this next one, though, we have 3xy plus 2x minus xz. So we can't combine any of those terms. There's nothing that's alike. But we do have x's that are common in each term. So I'm going to pull that out, factor it, or another word would be to reverse distribute. So if I pull the x out of this first term, we're left with 3y plus, if I pull the x out of this second term, we're left with 2 minus, if I pull the x out of this third term, we're left with z. And again, we cannot combine any of these items, so this is in its most simple form. Finally, they also threw in some difference of two squares problems, and you probably have not seen these since like beginning and intermediate algebra, or you may have used some in college algebra, but it's probably been a while. We have this rule that says if you've got a squared minus b squared, that will factor into a plus b times a minus b. So it may have been a while since you've seen that. We're going to use this fact in order to factor out 16 minus a squared. So first of all, you have to figure out what's being squared in order to get 16. So that would be the same thing as saying 4 squared minus a squared. So now then you can follow your pattern. So we're going to take our first thing, 4, plus the second thing, which is a, times the first thing, which is 4, minus the second thing, which is a. So this is how that factors.